So sitting up on your hands and knees, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, you're going to reach your right arm, left leg out, lift the arm and the leg without overextending the lower spine, and then actively bring your knee to touch your forehead. Inhale as you reach the arm and the leg up. Exhale as you bring the knee toward the forehead. You want to prevent the lower back from overextending as you reach the arm and the leg up, and then use your abdominals to actively bring your knee toward the forehead, touching the knee to the forehead if you can. I'm going to do 5 each side. Switching sides, reach the arm and the leg up, taking care not to overextend through the lower back, and then exhale, bringing the knee actively toward the forehead, squeezing your abdominals to bring the knee closer. 5 each side. Then bring the knees to the edges of your mat, feet together, place the weight onto your forearms, and then lift one arm up into the air. Feed that arm under the other arm, placing the weight of your torso onto your shoulder mainly, and just a little bit onto your head, lifting the top arm into the air if you can, and then returning back to the forearm to repeat. So we're going to do 5 each side here. You may not be able to lift that top arm into the air. You may just wish to place the weight onto the shoulder and push that shoulder into the ground. 5 on the other side, weight onto the forearm, then reaching the other arm into the air. Exhale, bringing the arm under the other arm, placing the weight onto your shoulder mainly, and then lifting the top arm toward the sky. So we're just moving into the upper spine, into thoracic rotation. You can push into the ground with the underside arm to achieve more upper spine rotation for this movement. Try to use the core muscles as much as you can to increase the range of your movement. Then you're going to slowly uncurl, squeeze your glutes, rotate your hips back, and then we're just going to reach to one side, just moving from the upper spine. Inhale, exhale as you relax the spine through the middle. Inhale, reach the other side. Exhale, flexing the spine through the middle. So I'm keeping my lower back flat by squeezing my glutes and rotating my hips back, keeping my core engaged, and just moving through side flexion, feeling that stretch through the side of my torso, and then moving into upper back flexion through the middle. It's just a really nice dynamic stretch. Then you're going to move either to a full squat or a half squat, and then slowly uncurl to stand. Repeating this movement from a standing position. So squeezing your glutes, rotate your hips back, reach to the side, rounding the spine through the middle, reaching to the other side. So we're just moving into upper back side flexion, and keeping the lower spine as still as possible by squeezing the glutes strong and preventing any movement from occurring there. Now dynamic lunge stretch. Reach one leg back, rotate the hips back, and then reach your arm to the opposite side. So reaching your arm to the side that your front knee is placed forward on. So the back leg is the same side as the arm that comes up and reaches to the opposite side. And we're just going to alternate sides for 10 reps. Make sure you're rotating the hips back. You're not extending through the lower spine here. You're keeping the lower back fairly flat and reaching to the side nice and strong. So you should feel this as a hip flexor stretch on the back leg. And then feet together, we're going to slowly curl down through the spine. So head comes forward, shoulders forward, rounding through the upper spine, mid spine, lower spine. Release the tailbone, keep the knees bent. And then you're going to slowly uncurl to stand up. Reach the arms into the air, squeeze your glutes, and then extend through the upper back only, not the lower back. So you squeeze the glutes there to prevent you from extending through the lower back. I'm going to go again, rolling down slowly. Rolling up, keeping the knees bent, squeeze the glutes strong, and just lift the chest to the ceiling. And one more time, rolling down slowly through the spine, keeping the knees bent, rolling up, engaging the core, squeeze the glutes, and extend through the upper back. Squeeze the glutes, rotate the hips back, brace your core. We're going to do some shoulder controlled articular rotations. So starting in full shoulder flexion and external rotation. And then when you can't move your arms back any further, you're going to start to internally rotate at the shoulders to slowly circle the arms back. Keep internally rotating, move through shoulder extension, and complete in shoulder internal rotation to finish with the arms by the side of the body, and then reverse, reaching the arms up. Then start to slowly externally rotate as you bring the arms up, back into shoulder flexion and external rotation. We're going to do 5 reps here. So you want to keep your elbows straight. You're moving from full shoulder flexion and external rotation, and then moving through shoulder extension and finishing with the arms by the side of the body in full shoulder internal rotation. Bracing the core, keep the ribs held down, make sure we're not moving through the lower spine at all. So nothing moves here apart from the shoulders. Elbows stay straight, core stays strong, feet are driving into the floor, glutes are strong throughout the movement. And moving from external rotation, when we can't reach the arms back any further, we're going to start to internally rotate. Keep internally rotating to finish with the arms by the side of the body, and then reverse, lifting the arms up. When we can't lift the arms any higher, start to externally rotate at the shoulders, bring them back up. And I'm just going to do 5 ankle circles one way, 5 the other way, each side. Try to move through full range, so fully point the foot, bring the toes out to the side, fully bring the toes up and bring the toes inward. 5 one way, 5 the other way. And now we're going to start the working set. So starting from a kneeling position, I'm going to slowly stand up, taking the weight off the back leg as early as we can, and then squatting back down, placing the weight back on the back leg as late as we can. So this is a single leg squat, using the floor for assistance as much as you need to. So if you want to make this easier, you use assistance from the floor more. So you'd be taking the weight off your back leg a little bit later as you stand up and placing the weight on the back leg sooner to finish the movement. If you want to make it harder, you use that back leg minimally. So we're going to take the weight off that back leg as early as possible, place the weight back on that back leg as late as possible as we squat down. We're going to do 5 one side, 5 the other side. I'm hinging from my hips, so I'm leaning forward as I squat down. My arms come out for balance, and I'm trying to use that back leg as minimally as I can. You can use some support here if you're struggling for balance. Otherwise, I would recommend doing this without any support to also train balance and single leg stability and strength. I'm doing 5 on the other leg. So because you're only doing 5, make them as hard as you can for 5 reps. Then we're going to do a single leg curtsy squat. So start with the leg crossed behind the other leg, slowly squatting up, taking the weight off that back leg as early as you can, and then squatting down, placing the leg back on that leg as late as you can. So it's up to you how hard you want to make this. You can use the back leg more for assistance if you need to. So keeping that supporting knee pointing forward the whole time. The hips need to shift to the side as you cross the legs, so your knee will have to shift to the side as you squat down to keep the knee pointing forward. So at the bottom of the squat, you should be able to see the inside 2 or 3 toes, and that means that your knee will be going forward. 5 reps on one side, changing sides, cross the knee over, hinge from the hips, lean forward, lifting the chest, slowly squatting up, and then squatting down, placing the weight on that back leg as late as possible. Taking care not to let the supporting knee rotate in, so it's really important to keep that knee pointing directly forward throughout this movement. I really like this exercise for working the glutes. It's excellent for hip stability and strength. Just training also the ability for the knee to resist rotation forces. So it's just a really great knee exercise as well. Then you're going to lie on your side with the underside knee bent, top leg straight, sit up on your forearm, and create a straight line from your ankle through to your hips to your shoulders. Rotate your hips back, engage your core, and then drive into your underside knee to lift your hips up. Your top leg stays lifted the whole time, a little bit. And we're going for 10 reps each side. It's important to have your shoulder positioned directly above your elbow at the top of the lift. So when you first set up, your shoulder should be a little bit outside of your elbow, so that when you lift your body up, your shoulder will be directly above your elbow. Other side, straight line from your ankle to your hips to your shoulders. Drive into the underside knee to lift your hips up. Check that your shoulder is positioned directly above your elbow at the top of the lift. We're going for 10 reps. Keeping your chest open and keep your hips rotated back so that you do not extend through your lower back. Otherwise, you may feel the exercise through your lower back a little bit. Then you're going to come up onto your forearms and knees, and we're going to do some hip extensions. I'm going to do 30 per side. You can start with 10, work up to 20, and then you might like to join me for 30 reps to really feel it through your glutes. Notice that I'm just extending through my hip here, so I'm taking care not to overextend my lower back as I lift my knee. So it's not important how high your knee lifts, it's more important just to keep the movement strictly through your hips. So we just want to be extending the hip, dropping the knee a little bit, and then repeating for 10, 20 or 30 reps. I'm bracing my core quite strongly here, and I'm keeping my ribs pulled down to prevent me from extending my lower back. Then moving to the other side for 10, 20 or 30 reps. I'm going to do 30. And it's just purely hip extension. My lower back is very still, and I'm keeping both hips facing the ground evenly. So I'm not letting that working hip lift up toward the sky. Keep your ribs down, keep your core braced, and just work through full hip extension without letting your lower back to extend at the top of the lift. And then moving to Prune Swimmers. So this is a really great full range shoulder exercise. Start with the hands behind your back. Pull your shoulders back, lift your elbows, and then lift your hands above your back. Extend your arms, and then slowly externally rotate from your shoulders, keeping your elbows straight. Bring your arms out in front of you. Touch between your shoulder blades, and then reverse, bring your arms out in front. Slowly internally rotate from your shoulders to bring your arms behind you. Bend your elbows, hover above your back, and repeat. So palms up behind you, palms down through the middle, palms up in front. Touch between your shoulder blades, and then reverse, palms up in front, palms down through the middle, and then palms up behind you. Keep your glutes squeezed, lift through your belly button. Try not to move through your lower back. Elbows straight. And try not to drop the height of your arms throughout this movement. So you're trying to make each rep higher and larger. And we're going to do 5 reps in total. Extend, start to externally rotate, bring the arms forward into shoulder external rotation, bend, touch, arms out in front into shoulder external rotation, and then start to internally rotate to bring the arms back, hover above your back, and rest. Then we're going to move to 5 side lifts per side. I'm going to start with my arms straight. I'll show you a harder version first and then an alternate easier version. Try to keep your torso straight, so try not to extend or flex your spine. You're going to push down strong through your supporting arm and lift through the side of your body using your core muscles. We're going to do 5 of these. So this is quite an advanced exercise. Really got to push down strong through that supporting arm. If that one's too hard, you can set up on your forearm and use your top arm on the floor for a bit of support. This is also pretty hard, by the way, so if this is also too challenging, you can bend your knees. And you're going to do 5 reps on this side. And then we're going to move to the other side. So I'll show you the harder version first. Straight arm, straight line from your ankles to your hips to your shoulder. Push down strong through the supporting arm, lift the side of your body. And we're doing 5 reps in total here on this side. Keep extending through your hips and lifting through your chest so that your spine stays fairly neutral. And if that version's too difficult, you're going to start on your forearm and use your top arm for support. 5 reps. If that's too tricky, you can bend your knees to make it easier. So now we're going to go for round 2. So starting from the single leg squat again. Standing on one leg, hinging from your hips. So your hips sit back as you squat down and coming up. So placing the weight on your back leg as late as you can and then taking the weight off your back leg as early as you can. It's up to you how difficult you want to make this exercise. You're just going to do 5 reps per side. Torso stays straight. You hinge from your hips so the torso leans forward but maintains a straight position, and reach your arms forward. 5 reps on the other side. You can take the pressure off your knees by creating more of a right angle at your knee joint here. So if you were to reach your leg further back so that your knee is positioned at more of a right angle at the bottom of this movement, it's going to work your glutes more and your quads less, which will take the pressure off your knees. Then 5 curtsy squats, so crossing the back leg behind the supporting leg, placing the weight on your back leg as late as you can, and then taking the weight off that back leg as early as you can. 5 reps per side, hinging from the hips. Yep, it's pretty difficult. You may like to hang on to something for support if you're really struggling with balance. Reaching the arms forward, lifting the chest at the bottom of the squat and coming up. Other side for 5 reps. Crossing the back leg behind, placing the weight on the back leg as late as possible and taking the weight off the back leg as early as possible. Make sure that supporting knee is pointing directly forward, so your hips will move to the side, so your knee will also have to move to the side a little bit to make sure it's pointing forward. And then moving to your side, so on your forearm, bending the underside knee, top leg is straight, and we're going to do 10 reps here of hip abductions. This will also work the glutes, and just making sure that your spine is staying neutral, so extend through your hips and lift your chest. The most common errors here are having the hips sticking back and the chest sort of collapse forward, so make sure you keep the chest open. 10 reps on the other side, underside knee bent, top leg straight and lifted off the other leg the whole time. And also be aware of the shoulder position, so you want your shoulder to be positioned directly above your elbow at the top of each rep. Hip extensions, setting up on your forearms and knees, and you're either going to do 10, 20 or 30 reps here. Make sure the movement is purely occurring at the hips, so bracing your core, keeping your hips facing down evenly, keeping your ribs held down, and just moving into full hip extension with each rep and not moving into any back extension. If you're feeling this exercise through your lower back, you are most definitely moving through your lower back. Make sure you protect that by bracing your core and keeping your ribs held down. Other side, 10, 20 or 30 reps. Hips facing down, core braced, ribs held down. Lift the knee as high as you can without moving into any back extension. And then moving to the Prune Swimmers, so forehead touching the ground, glutes engaged, hands behind your back, lift your shoulders, lift your elbows, lift your hands off your back. Straight arms, bring your arms forward, turning the palms up, touch between the shoulder blades, palms up in front, and slowly bring the arms back, palms up behind you. So palms up behind you, palms up in front of you, and you rotate them down through the middle. Try not to lose any height through your arms as you do this. So we're working through shoulder internal rotation here, and now moving to shoulder external rotation, touching, and then shoulder external rotation, moving to shoulder internal rotation. You want to keep those elbows straight through this middle portion of the movement. And as you touch the hands between your shoulder blades, try not to drop the height of your elbows. 5 reps. Insanely tough exercise, but well worth the effort. And then we're going to come up, moving to the side for 5 side lifts. I'll just do the harder version if you need to choose one of the easier versions. So pushing down strong through the supporting arm, lifting through the side of the body, and keep a straight line from the ankles to the hips to the shoulder. So we try not to flex the spine or extend the lower back as we do this. 5 reps on this side, and then moving to the other side. Now, if you like, you can do another round. You may like to finish here, or you may like to join me again. So we're going to do 5 reps of the single leg squats. This is the second rep. I'm just going to count this round. This is the third. You got 2 more. Placing the weight on the back leg as late as you can, picking up that leg as early as you can. And last one, hinging from the hips. Switching sides. Back leg comes down, hinging forward, arms come forward. Use that back leg minimally. Got 3 more reps. Make them as hard as you can. And last one. And then crossing that back leg to do the 5 curtsy squats. Squatting down, place the weight on that back leg as late as possible, but taking the weight off that back leg as early as possible. Second rep. Hinging from the hips as well, bracing through the core. Two more. And last one. Switching sides. I like to find a position on the ground for focus so I can balance. Using that back leg only as much as you need to. Make sure that supporting knee is pointing directly forward. This is the third rep. Got 2 more to go. and last one. Coming to your side, so on your forearm, bending the underside knee, top leg is straight. We're going to do 10 hip abductions. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, strong through the core, 5, 6, shoulder on top of the elbow, 7, 8, 9, and last one. You want to make sure you're not just using momentum there to lift your body, you're pushing nice and strongly through that underside knee. And other side, shoulder on top of the elbow at the top, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, spine is neutral, 9, and last one. Now for the hip extensions, so I won't count through all these because it's quite a lot, but you're either going for 10, 20 or 30 reps. So it's a fairly quick pace. I'm just moving through full hip extension, dropping the knee a little bit, and then going straight back up. Make sure you're continuing to brace through your core, keeping your ribs held down, keeping the hips facing the ground evenly. So no movement is occurring through the lower spine as you lift the knee up and down. Moving to the other side, 10, 20 or 30 reps. Keeping the movement occurring at the hip joint, not at the lower back. And then the prone swimmers, so face down, forehead on the ground, 5 reps. Pushing the arms out, slowly externally rotate at the shoulders, bringing the arms forward, touch between the shoulder blades, arms out in front, and then internally rotate as you bring the arms back, hovering above your back. Second rep, keeping the elbows straight, keep the glutes squeezed, try not to drop the height of the arms. This is the third rep. Keep working hard. It's a really difficult exercise. Move into shoulder internal rotation, hover. Fourth rep. Move into shoulder external rotation, touch external rotation into internal rotation, hover, and last one. Keep lifting through the arms. And rest. Coming up, moving to your side and choosing your difficulty level for this exercise. I'm going to do the straight arm version. I'm going to do 5 reps of pushing down through that supporting arm. 1, 2, 3, keeping the chest open, hips extended. 4, and last one. Sides. Straight line from your ankles to your hips to your shoulder, and pushing down strong through the supporting arm. 5, 4, 3, strong through the core. 2, 1. Finishing with a little bit of movement, resting your head on your arm, knees bent, and we're going to move through some hip controlled articular rotations on the side. So flexing the hip, bring the knee out to the side, then start to internally rotate at the hip, moving through hip extension, bring the knees together, and then reverse, extending the hip, bring the leg out to the side, and then externally rotate, bring the leg through hip flexion, knees together. 2 more of these. keep the hips facing the side throughout the movement, so avoid the tendency to rotate the hips toward the sky as you bring the leg back, and also avoid the tendency to flex the spine and extend the spine. So you want to keep the spine completely neutral and keep the hips facing the side throughout. Just working through hip movement. 3 reps of these, then we're going to do 3 shoulder clocks. Rest the head on the ground, bring the arms out in front, lift the arm above the head, and then bring the arm back behind the torso, and then return the arm in front again. So we're trying to keep the fingertips in contact with the ground throughout this exercise. If your hands are well off the ground and you can't maintain contact, allow your torso to face the sky as you bring the arm back behind your torso. Otherwise, do what I'm doing here and keep your torso facing the side so that you're just moving through the shoulder, or working more through the shoulder. We're going to do 3 reps and then coming up and changing sides. So first doing 3 reps of the hip rotations, so keeping the spine neutral, keep the hips facing the side, and then moving through hip flexion, hip abduction, then start to internally rotate the hip as you bring the hip back into hip extension, bring the knees together, then reverse hip extension, hip abduction, and then externally rotate the hip to bring it through hip flexion and then knees together. So we're trying to work through as great of a range of hip movement as we can here without compensating by rotating the hips up toward the sky or allowing the spine to flex or extend as you move the leg. Doing 3 reps. Keeping that core engaged throughout the movement. And then we're going to do 3 shoulder clocks, so head resting on the ground, arms together, move that top arm with a straight elbow, bringing the arm back behind the torso, allowing the shoulder to naturally rotate, and then reversing to bring it back. So your shoulder will move here into internal rotation as the arm comes back, and then as you reach the arm up, it will start to externally rotate to bring the arm forward again, trying to maintain contact of the fingertips with the ground throughout the movement. If you're having trouble, let the torso rotate toward the sky. 3 reps, and then you're finished.